could have items number 4 and 5, which could result in a change in the list that you previously certified. Because we have 14 on the fire lieutenant list, and we have 30 on the foreman list. So that's why they are listed on the agenda for possible action, should you decide to make that change. The other thing that I will mention, as a side note, regardless, that I would suggest and recommend that one revision be made irregardless and improved, and that is that when we made the change, to 40, there was one spot on page 6 under eligible lists that it was omitted, the change. It lists right there 10 persons, and if it's going to be consistent with the change you made, it should have said 40. And so that would be a correction that I would suggest that you adopt as a change. If you leave the list, or if you leave the rules and regulations the way they stand, make that change there. If you want to change back to 10 as an example, what we previously had, then I think you have also in front of you what that revision would look like, so that you could adopt that change.
Dispatch 2331.
31.
Tennessee Police Command's terminated 2331 is available.
You guys have any more comments?
I guess in closing, I would, could we maybe read through the section that talks about the promotional, the 400, I believe it's Article 11, Section 2A and B.
Jake, are you asking to read through the rules and regulations that's in front of them, or the Iowa code?
The actual Iowa code, because that it kind of sets, I believe it sets the boundaries to really give you direction for the commission on how to really conduct it.
What section do you think it is?
411 or 400.11 is it?
411,
Names.
2A, I believe.
Yes, 2A. Yep, so page, it looks like it's 7. And
What I will point out is that's the section of the code that we asked for the legal opinion from your counsel, and so that's what you've been provided, that's referencing. So under 2A, it says the commission within 90 days after the beginning of each competitive examination for promotion shall certify to the city council a list of names of the 10 persons who qualify with the highest standing as a result of each examination for the position the persons seek to fill, or the number which have qualified if less than 10 in the order of their standing in all newly created offices or other vacancies in positions under civil service which occur before the beginning of the next examination for the positions shall be filled from the list or from the preferred list existing as provided for in the case of diminution of employees within 30 days. If a tie occurs in the examination scores which would qualify persons for the 10th position on the list of names of the persons who qualify with the highest standing as a result of each exam shall include all persons who qualify for the 10th position. So that's the section.
yeah, so in that section, if we kind of break it down, it talks about certified of the top 10 candidates.
Correction.
And then from
Correction, I'm gonna stop you, Jake. You cannot misquote the Iowa code to the commission. I just read what it said.
Yep.
It does not say the top 10.
the 10 most qualified
The list of the names of the 10 persons who qualify with the highest standing.
with the highest standing. So the standing
do
is
not
the
change the verbiage, that changes meaning sometimes. So that can mislead the commission. I urge you to look closely at what the wording actually says.
Yep, I've read it several times. So so the top 10 is basically what it's saying, unless there is a tie, and it gives you examples of
Right.
if there's a greatest tie, that allows you to have a list then greater than 10. The language doesn't seem ambiguous. It seems clear and concise. I've personally contacted just about all cities that have civil service, and except for the 2 that were mentioned with Waterloo and West Des Moines, they all max out their list at 10 for promotional only.
Mhm.
So as we're talking about promotional only. And that's really to set the bar high and to have the most qualified applicants. The history of civil service is a means to ensure that promotional processes or hiring is not based on nepotism or other favoritism, political favors and such. And that's really the history of where the language came from. This language of the 10 most qualified or the top scoring candidates has been in Chapter 400 for at least going back to the 1980s. If you go to the Iowa Code on the state legislatures, you can see all the modifications that have occurred, and the last modification was made in 2009, if I remember correctly. I take that back. There were some modifications made last year, but not, that section has been unchanged since 2009.
I will point out, Mr. Schweitzer cannot speak to what the intent of that was, as he just said.
But as it says on page 31, we do have the right to have, to amend the rules as well. Perry?
So again, staff will accept either direction. Yes, Matt?
Just to say, that the way I understand it, our bargaining unit with promotional has been doing testing since roughly the year 2000, so almost 2 decades.
Mhm.
And our heavy equipment operator list, which is considered promotional, and our foreman list, which is obviously promotional, has always had more than 10 names on it. I took the test for the first time 4 years ago, if I remember correctly, and I know I was not number 10 on that list. At that time, I'd only been with the city 4 years, and so there was at least 15 people in front of me that I can think of off the top of my head. And so, judging what you said there, you're allowed to make exceptions, and obviously this has been the rule for us internally for at least 20 years. I mean, and I've only been here 8.5, so I can't speak for anyone before my time, but I know what we've done, you know, and how we do things on the ASME side in our bargaining unit is universally accepted, where if you meet the minimum standard of the test, whatever that percentage may be, 70%, correct, Perry?
The commission has established it at 70%.
70% is based on seniority, and that's the way we like it, that's the way we do business, and that's the way, you know, we're used to doing things. And across the board, 100%, you know, is this the way you wanna keep it? Yes. You know?
That's the problem, is we've always allowed on the promotional list before as many as 40. It's just been common practice for us until now, until this came up.
Just clarification, you've allowed, that has been the practice of?
Yes, it has.
Because that's not consistent with the rules and regulations that were adopted in 2011.
I know.
And internally, at least in the fire department, I can't speak for the police department, but I have not seen a list longer than 10, and there was cutoffs, and there was obviously candidates that were disappointed because they did not score in the top 10. So if
And I agree
anything,
with Mr. Schweitzer that I believe, and these predate me in most cases, that I believe that in the case of the fire department, they were capped at 10,
Were they?
and they were uncapped in some of the other units. Not saying that was right, I can't speak to my predecessors on decisions that were made or omissions that were made. But the fact that both of them came up at the same time here made it readily apparent, which is why I think the issue came up now when we had 2 different lists, and one was gonna be basically truncated and the other one was not. That's where the commission, I think, took a look at it, saying we cannot have 2 standards at play here. We have to have 1 standard and establish what that standard will be.
I guess it had never come up before. I mean, I've been on the commission for quite a while, and it's never come up. So
I have
I
not
just
seen a
assumed
list.
it was whoever passed the test.
Yeah, but I had not seen a list more than 10, I don't think, in my research for the fire department. I have seen multiple lists greater than 10 on some of the other groups, so I will agree with what, you know, is being spoken here from both of you two on that.